Alright guys, coronavirus restrictions have finally lifted. It's been like 14 weeks, but the black GQ's back, I'm back, Dan's back, hopefully to stay. But in today's video, we're just going to do a quick rundown and review of the turbo we installed about a year ago today. We installed it in October 2019. So we'll give a rundown how it's been going and all the problems we've had and how the problems we haven't had. Okay, so this is an NA TD42 out of GQ. It's completely factory internals. It's been running boost ever since I've had it, and it's never had a problem. It's done about 450,000 Ks now, this engine, as is, and with a little bit of maintenance, like a service every like 5 to 10,000 Ks, it just keeps going, no problems. So the reason why I upgraded to this video, if you had to watch the old one, just go click back and watch it like up here. But the reason why I upgraded is because the turbine seals for the oil shit themselves.
There's that much oil in this that it's actually coming through the silicon. Silicon hoses aren't meant to be oil resistant.
And it was just blowing oil into the boost line, and it started burning like 5 litres every couple hundred Ks.
This is the reason the old turbo had to go. This is the line out of the turbo to the intercooler. Not good. Look at that.
Sooty.
Slowly dying.
So that's the main reason why I changed it to this one, and also for efficiency as well. Like this one, like the old one only used to get to about 11 to 12 PSI, this one gets to 20, like way before that one even came on boost. So this whole kit and setup is a G-Turbo green wheel, also known as the Grunter. The kit I think was $2,500 to $3,000, and I mean I just bought that because I wanted something reliable in a good name brand designed for this car that can basically has really good low down power and really high up power. Now there's plenty of other turbos you can get for a lot cheaper than that, which do the exact same thing. I just went with them because I just wanted to get the best that I could afford at the time, which was this. It's been, as I said, about a year. I've probably done about 30,000 Ks since I installed it, and touch wood to date, haven't had a single issue. Still consistently get around 20 pound of boost at 2000 RPM. Basically from nothing it has 10 pound of boost and goes all the way to 20. So ever since I installed this turbo, my AGTs have dropped about 50 to 100 degrees depending on the environment I'm in. Like say for example it's on a 45 degree day, the AGTs are maybe 50 degrees cooler, but on like a cold day in like, you know, Mount Donaby weighing or whatever, up in the snow, you probably see EGTs at about 100, 125 degrees. It does not run hot, this motor, at all. Very surprising. Considering everyone calls them a kettle, this motor runs surprisingly cool. So now, we'll switch over to Dan. He'll tell you about how easy it was to install and how much little maintenance there has been for the mechanical part since we've installed it.
Yeah, well, as James was saying, the reason we installed that turbo is because the seals in the old one were gone, and there was also a lot of end float. A lot of end float. So
I remember we used to, like, you just drive up a hill and you hear the whole thing going like literally rattling inside the casing. It was very good.
Not happy. So we did price up getting the original turbo rebuilt, and I think it was going to be like $1,200 to get that rebuilt if the housing wasn't damaged, which it definitely was.
Yes, it was.
So I mean, in terms of that, the replacement with the manifold for that price is not really that bad, and like you said, you're getting a much more efficient turbo. As far as maintenance since you've done it, I mean, it's just been general servicing. You do it every 5,000 anyway, because it is an older motor. It's getting on a bit in the Ks. Yeah. And but it's not burning oil anymore, so it's not like you baby it.
No,
the thing gets a hard time.
Yeah, it gets a flogging.
Just grab third.
But it does get well maintained, this vehicle.
Yeah,
for sure.
Nah, it's just been general servicing, and other than that, the turbos perform really well. Like, I was really surprised with how much better it was than just an off-the-shelf sort of item.
Yeah, just like on that, the EGTs are like, again, like 100 to 50 degrees cooler than the old one, and that's just not even including the cooler that I put on prior to that. Like my EGTs max these days get 300 degrees. Yeah, which is like incredible.
I would have loved to have seen the exhaust back pressure on the manifold with the old turbo on it, because definitely wasn't flowing on the exhaust side. But yeah, no, it's going really well. And again, especially for a blacktop, which you'll hear a lot of, like non-turbo blacktops, a lot of people will say they'll die if you put more than sort of 15 pound max into them. And I mean, maybe it's the massive intercooler, or
maybe because it's running at like so little fuel.
Yeah,
like this
correct.
is a very efficient engine. Like we're running like crazy amount of air to the fuel we're putting in there. Like this thing just barely soots at all.
The thing with it is that it's a non-boost compensated pump, so he's running rich when he's not on boost and lean when he is on boost.
Which is and it becomes on boost at like 1100 RPM.
Yeah. So again, if you are going to run that, which is not ideal, but if you are going to run a non-boost compensated pump, a turbo that comes on boost that fast is obviously a hell of a lot better because you're not just blowing raw fuel out the pipe.
You're not going to cook your heads or your cars.
So in a diesel, running it lean like that isn't really going to hurt anything. You could definitely make more power up high, or high on boost. You can make a lot more power with a bigger pump, but then you'll be pushing your EGTs and probably look at doing internal damage to that motor. I think I've been saying to James, that's the one thing that I think saved it. The boost isn't what kills it, it's the fuel to go with it.
Yeah.
So
it's only a 10mm factory pump, and I haven't touched it. I mean, like we did wind the fuel screw in as far as it would go, so that it would sit idling at a decent idle. But other than that, that's all we've done.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like spending all that money just to put a 12 pump on it and then have it blow up in 50k, 50,000 k.
Especially for a motor with that many k's on it, you'll be really cooking pistons. But no, as far as maintenance and that goes, it's been spot on.
Yeah.
Turbo hasn't had any issues.
I haven't had any problems with it in a year. 30,000 k's, whatever it's been. It's been no dramas.
And the install itself was as easy as, like, I mean, you just look right there. I mean, you can see you can pretty much get to everything.
A couple bolts.
The hardest part, and it wasn't very hard, would have been making a bit of piping. But I mean, even that's pretty simple. But the install was easy. Plenty of room in the engine bay in these things. And,
so, if for those of you who have been stuck around the channel for a really long time, we did the wastegate disconnect video on this exact turbo, and I said in that video I'll put a 6PT if I got to 1,000 likes. Well, that video is way past 1,000 likes by now, and I still really want to put a 6PT in this car. Just got to find the cash to get us the motor and the setup in this car, because a 6PT at 500 horse would just be amazing. That would be on point. I would love that. So we haven't forgotten about that, if you're wondering. We still definitely want to do that at some point. It's just trying to find the money and the time to do it, especially with coronavirus. I was saving up to do that, but then I spent all the money on the Canopy, which we'll just go to now, and I'll show you the ideas we've got for the Canopy. So this is not like an idea or pretend or whatever. I actually purchased all the stuff to do this, but when I purchased it all, the restrictions were like coming more and more and more, and then obviously we haven't been able to see each other in months. So now it's just literally just got to find time with Dan, with work, and myself and Patrick, and we can sit down and build this in a couple of days. But basically I bought a 1.8 by 1.8 meter canopy, and I think it's 900 tall, gull wing doors. We're going to put a rooftop tent on it with solar panels. I think it's like 500 watts of solar. We've got a massive fridge slide, the double drawers, like 1.3 meter ones, so I can put my guns in there and lock them. We got massive batteries, chargers, and all that stuff. Dan will tell you about that. But
yeah, James has gone all out with the electronic setup in this thing. We're running a 3000 watt red arc inverter, pure sine wave, a 50 amp BC-DC red arc charger for the rear batteries, which are going to be mounted in the front of the canopy there. He's got a total of 300 amp hours between two batteries, which is going to be hopefully plenty enough to run fridge, lights, stereo. And the inverter I'm going to get like a cheap microwave and kettle, and maybe like a induction cooker to go with it. I don't want to deal with gas. I mean, like, I kind of sound like a bit of an idiot, but I just can't be bothered filling gas bottles. So if I can get power from the sun and then cook off that, it saves a lot of time and money in my eyes. So. And he's got a 3000 watt inverter, so when Patrick snaps something on his Pajero, we'll be able to run my welder off James's car. Buzz it back together. And then the next best thing is, because we've got so much battery power here, and Dan's going to have dual battery set up soon as well, and then Nav's already got one. I mean, no. Come on. the Padge has already got a dual battery set up. We can put up the Anderson plugs and set up our own little power grid and stuff. It should be really fun. It should be really exciting when we go away next, hopefully soon. Before Christmas, hopefully we can get away and do it. So keep an eye on the channel, because we will be doing videos on the full electronics install in this canopy, the whole build process, where we're going to mount everything, how we're going to wire it. Yeah, we're going to hopefully go from start to finish. We'll go with building the canopy up, because right now the canopy's got like a lip on the door, so we're going to put a false floor on it and divider. So we'll go through all that. A lot of you are going to ask questions. What's going to happen with this rear bar and light? It's staying. The canopy's going to finish about here, so I'm going to put some jerry cans here and my spare wheel there. The roof rack's going for all of those that hated it, but it's going to be replaced with a tent
We're going to chop the headboard and redo that so it actually fits the shape of the canopy. But yeah, it should be a really mint build. Probably going to have to change the springs in the back too to constant loads, because the ones right now aren't. Like, as you can see, the whole... Like,
James started this plan and I went, yeah, you're going to be sitting on the bump stops with all this stuff.
but luckily, I need to do my shocks anyway because they've all four are blown out in that time. So when we do the shocks, we'll do the springs as well. So, and coils are cheap, so not a big deal. Alright, so that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. We've talked about a lot on this car and the plans are coming up. If you haven't already, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, check us out on Facebook, do all that good stuff, and catch us for the next video.